Alright, so it's been a while since I've done a video, and feeling a lot better now than I have been, and it's kind of funny watching some of my videos, just watching my mind process. I think the last one's kind of funny because the whole last half of the video of part 11, my mind was so scattered. But anyways, I'm gonna finish out my story hopefully in this segment and kind of talk about just how things have been going. So last time I left off with, I had gone to talk to CJ about the HPV and ended up missing him a lot. And so I texted him a few days later and asked him if he wanted to hang out with me. And he didn't respond until I think it was the next day or the day after that. And he was like, no. And he said, I'm not going to continue contacting you. And I said, it's fine if you don't want to see or talk to me again, but can you tell me why? And he was like, no. Because part of the reason was I suspected that he was upset with me or hurt or something, because on the night that I had gone to his work to tell him about the HPV, I gave him a letter that it told him everything about what my experience was through the fallout and everything that happened afterwards, as far as my thought processes and what I was feeling and stuff like that. And I told him everything. Like, I told him that I thought he was a coward and a child, and he threw me under the bus, and that he was toxic, and that I also told him that he's someone who can't ever have true friends, because the people who I guess truly know, the people closest to him either look down on him and pity him, like what I felt Tanner was doing, or they were being manipulated, like me and Michelle, or a combination of manipulation and pity. I said a lot of hurtful things, but I also told him, it's like, even after coming to all those conclusions, I still want the best for him. I used to always, dream good things for him. I would always dream that, one day he'd settle on something that he liked to do and make that his career, and that he would do well at it and excel and make enough money to be able to support himself. And I dreamed for him, and I told him, I still want all those things for you. I still want you to have a wonderful, great life. And I want him to always be growing and, find out what love really is, kind of a thing. But I think he focused on more the negative part of it. I devoted the majority of the letter to all of the negative part of it. I kind of had one little segment at the end telling him all those good things, but so I think he was hurt by that. It's funny because I think those are things that he thinks of himself, but he doesn't like to hear it from other people. And when I gave him that letter, I didn't consider his feelings. Even, I think I think some people are never ready for the truth. I think sometimes people can't handle it, especially if it concerns something about themselves that they don't like. You know, because I know he felt worthless at times, and I know he felt, you know, that he didn't amount to much, and I guess it's just harder to hear from somebody else than it is from yourself sometimes. And I mean, I think I was important to him. You know, I was one of 3 people that knew one of his deepest, darkest secrets, and, you know, in his mind, I was someone who accepted him for who he was, and I cared for him and loved him, and I think he never thought that I would ever say anything bad about him, you know. And for the longest time I didn't, because I kind of have a belief that, you know, if you have bad expectations of somebody, then they're going to fulfill that. And, you know, because if you tell somebody over and over again, you're not a good person, you're not a good person, they'll become someone who's not a good person. You know, because, I mean, it's not like, you know, the person who's telling them that they're going to be a bad person would be upset if it did turn out to be true, you know. And so, yeah, I always tried to expect good things from him, for him, you know. I wanted to be that influence for him. I mean, I don't think it worked, but anyways, I'm really good at getting off track. So yeah, I didn't consider the impact that my saying those things would have on him, you know, and maybe I'm underestimating him, you know, maybe I think he's more fragile than he really is, but I think to have someone like me who was important to him, I mean, he treated me poorly, but he still, I think I was still special to him at that point. You know, to have someone like me tell him those things were, you know, I don't know. I think it probably hurt him a lot. Like I said, I think some people don't handle the truth well. Actually, probably most people don't. A lot of people say they want the truth out of people, and then when the people say it, they shove them out of their lives, you know. They shut down their power to speak at all. That was one of the frustrations that I had with the whole ordeal, was that, you know, I would try to tell, you know, CJ and Tanner my side of the story. And Michelle was off limits. I couldn't talk to her at all. And, you know, I had no power because they shut down any way of communication that I had with them. And it's frustrating. You know, you can't make people listen to you. And so they never can never see a situation from all aspects of it, you know. And so it's just like everybody lives in their own reality based on what they see, and in everybody else's reality, everybody paints themselves to be like the victim or the hero of their own story. I don't know. I think I'm starting to ramble, which I kind of wanted to save my ramblings for a future video, so I'll stop there. But, so yeah, I think he was hurt by the stuff I had put in my letter for him, so he told me he didn't want to talk to me. he didn't want to have anything to do with me. He said, I never want to see or talk to you again. I want nothing to do with you. Don't bother me anymore. So I was already in a depressive state at that point. And when he told me that, it's not like it had a huge impact right away, but I think it affected me more than I thought it did originally, because the things just got worse from there. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. After the fallout, I kind of held off depressive symptoms by, going on runs and stuff up until I had my board exam. And after my board exam, I still exercised for like the next half a week or so until I went to St. Louis. And then when I went to St. Louis, it was just like everything was thrown off. I didn't work out, it was my routine was off. And so by the time I got back to Kansas City, it started to rain a lot, so I didn't go out to exercise. I didn't go to any of the parks that I was planning on going to. And so I would sit in the house all day, and I think that kind of impacted me very negatively. And so I don't really remember much about the week between going to St. Louis and my graduation weekend. And I don't remember hardly anything about it. I was trying to remember, did I go rock climbing that week? Did I even go to my pole class that week? I couldn't even remember. I think I spent most of my time just watching YouTube videos or just anything to keep my mind numb. And so yeah, I don't remember anything about that week. I think I lied around a lot. Probably wasn't eating. Anyways, so graduation came and went. And then the week after that, that's the most that time period after graduation is the most I remember, just kind of feeling like things were not getting better. And for a while, because I think before graduation it was just kind of a matter of, I just need time, it'll get better on its own. And I think after graduation is when I started to kind of feel like it wasn't getting better. I laid around the house a lot. I just remember I'd lay in bed till at least noon, if not till like 2 in the afternoon. Get up and have a bowl of cereal. And I may or may not have had plans to do stuff that day. Like I might have thought about going to the mall to go shopping or something like that. But, I would get up and have a bowl of cereal, and, as soon as I sat down to eat, I'd finish eating, and then I didn't have any desire to get up. I would curl up in a ball in my chair and just stare out the window all day. And sometimes I'd be thinking about things, and other times I was zoned out and I guess just feeling, I don't even know what. And sometimes I would be just sitting there crying, and sometimes I was crying for a reason, and sometimes I wasn't. Like, that was my life for like 2 weeks, and the only consistent meal I ever had any day was a bowl of cereal. After that, it was anybody's guess as to whether I'd eat again or whatever. I think one day I just had a bowl of cereal and a half a can of fruit. Yeah, so I wasn't eating. I literally just sat around all the time. And I think I don't know, because I would try to make plans to go, get out of the apartment, grocery shopping, or go to the mall, or something. But man, as soon as I sat down, it's just, I never got back up. And that was how I spent my days. And I remember thinking, kind of at the beginning of it, I don't know, I felt like what I was going through was okay to be going through. So I remember thinking, it's like people go through life, doing all kinds of things to avoid pain. And I felt like, I just remember thinking pain is part of life. It's okay that I'm feeling sad, and it's okay if I'm depressed for a little bit. It's just told myself it's okay to feel this way. And I just figured it would eventually get better on its own with time, I guess. And then after, I think at some point after CJ had told me that he didn't want to have anything to do with me, I started to be afraid that my state of depression was going to turn into something permanent, because it wasn't getting better. Like I said, I tried to, I tried my hand with a couple of other people as far as just trying to not be by myself and just try to be around people, because I always did fine when I was out. I don't think I really had any obvious signs of how bad off I was. Maybe some people could tell that I was maybe a little down or something, but I don't think anybody could have figured out that, I don't know, like I said, just how bad off I was. And, so yeah, I tried to find people to hang out with, but like I said, it's just, people are busy, and, I didn't want to play the pity card. I didn't want to have people hang out with me just because I told them that I was depressed. So I never pushed anything too far. So yeah, I at some point started to wonder if this was going to be something that turned into something permanent and chronic. And I started to have some dark thoughts. I think it was probably the next day or two after I started thinking that it was going to turn permanent, and I remember thinking, I was laying in my apartment, and I just remember thinking, if I died here in my apartment, nobody would know. It would be at least a few days, if not like a week, before anybody figured out that I wasn't there anymore. I don't know, and I wasn't really thinking of doing it. I was just thinking, I don't know, just having morbid thoughts, I guess. I guess mostly because I felt like if I died in my apartment, it would be so pointless. I just graduated. I have stuff to look forward to eventually, but And after those thoughts, I started wondering what it would feel like to cut myself. And I think it was because I just felt so empty and dull. Like, I felt like my brain was dull, my brain wasn't working right. It felt like I couldn't think, and I couldn't process anything. I felt like a zombie, an empty shell, dull, empty. I guess those are the words that would describe it. And, I think I just wanted to feel something sharp. Something different than what I had been feeling for the past month. And the reasons I didn't cut myself, kind of stupid. One reason was because I was thinking, those scars probably wouldn't be good for a health professional to have, so I probably shouldn't do it on my wrist at least, and also for the fact that I don't have much meat on my bones, so there wasn't much between, me accidentally cutting a major artery and bleeding out, and I didn't want to end up with brain damage because I accidentally bled out. I didn't want to die. And so then I started thinking, where else could I cut? And, I thought about my leg, and probably the one thing that kept me from, two things that kept me from cutting myself were, one, I had no motivation to get up and move. It seemed like getting up to go grab a knife would take too much energy. And then the other thing was I think I had my pole dance class that evening, and I didn't want to be unable to do my pole class, and you use your whole entire body, for pole dance, and I didn't want to be unable to do that. So there was literally no good place to cut myself. So yeah, I guess you could say that pole dance kept me from self-harm. So I don't know whether that's funny or disgusting, or I don't know quite how to react to that. I mean, I don't know, I guess my thoughts were just messed up. But it wasn't long after that. It was, I guess, the next day or the day after, my mom called me and said, we were chatting a little bit, and she said, you just don't sound like you're doing good there. I mean, I didn't tell her about how I was feeling or anything. I think she could just tell from my voice. But she said, it doesn't sound like you're doing good there. Why don't you just quit your job and move home? And I think I was having a very weak moment. She was talking to me, and I was just laying there crying. So when she said, just move home, and I said, okay. So she said, we're going to do it this weekend. So you've got like 4 days to pack and quit your job, tell the apartment complex, change your bills, that stuff, and of course I didn't do any of it until like the last minute, but yeah. And then I moved home. And I'm super, super over time. But there was no good place to stop, so thanks for sticking through the whole thing if you did. And I'll see you in the next video.